everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hey, everybody.
We are actually not driving home from the movie this time. We're actually driving to Chicago because Mike is driving me back to my apartment. But before we left our place in Indianapolis, we actually watched one last movie for our little driving home the movie Halloween run. We watched The Final Girls, which was a movie that came out, I believe, this year. It might have done the festival circuit earlier than that, but I think it basically came out this year.
Yeah, I do think it did come out this year.
So essentially, similarly to Cooties from yesterday, or when we watched yesterday, I'm not sure when this is going up.
I'm probably just going to edit them and clip them all on Tuesday and then put them up staggered over the next couple days.
Yeah, give you guys some nice time to enjoy them. Similar to Cooties, though, this is a movie that kind of plays off of some very traditional horror movie tropes. But instead of zombies, these are slasher movies. And I feel like the subverting trope that they're using here is one that we've seen other movies do, but I can't think of it. But the idea of like someone being put into the movie, so very like Pleasantville-like.
Yes, it's very Pleasantville.
So essentially, this girl whose mother was in a slasher movie and died in a car crash the year before, she is kind of roped into going to this screening of her mom's slasher movie, and she's there with this boy that she likes, and her friends there, and so is the ex-girlfriend of the boy she likes, who also happens to be an ex-friend of hers. And so they're all watching this movie, and an accident happens, and there's this big fire, and so she does the only thing that she can think of when all the exits are blocked, and she like slashes open the movie screen, and those like the guy that convinced her to come goes in, the boy she likes, her friend, and then her ex-friend all go in, and she follows after them. And the next thing they know is they're in this like foresty area, and suddenly this van goes by, and it happens to be the characters about to go to the summer camp and have their big adventure. And so the first thing they do is kind of panic, because they're like, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. And the interesting thing is they do try to play up a lot of the potential movie aspects of this. So when they don't do anything, 92 minutes later, the same van goes around again, because they don't know what they
kept walking.
Sorry, yeah, they kept walking, and it doesn't do anything. And exactly 92 minutes later, the van comes back. And so then the second time, they're just sitting there, but one of the guys has timed it just to make sure, and he's figured out, oh wait, it's been 92 minutes, and it's just going to keep repeating until we go into the van. By the way, Mike is getting gas, so should I just chat for a little bit with the camera?
If you want to, or you could pause and take a break, I don't care.
Alright, I'll pause. And we're back. Hey, everybody. So where were we at? So they...
well, we got $20 in gas, enough to get us there and back again.
Hooray!
See,
not what I meant, though. So,
there and back again, it's a movie.
Yeah. Well, that's not a movie.
Well, it's actually a book, but There and Back Again. A Hobbit's Tale.
Anyway, so they eventually realize we're gonna have to like play along because like nothing else is working. So they get in, and there's that awkward moment where the main character's mom's like basically her character wakes up in the back of the van, is like, oh hi, I didn't know we were picking up people, and all of the people who know, all of the people from the real world who are in there are just looking at the main character going like, oh god, this is awkward.
That's your dead mother.
That's your dead mother, and you're seeing her after on the anniversary of her death, no less. Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned it before, but yeah, that night was the anniversary, like the 1 year anniversary of her death. So,
Actually, it was the 3-year anniversary.
Was it 3 years?
They said 3 years later.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was only 1, but I must have missed that. So they go in and they realize they're going to have to try to make it to the end of the movie. Which is harder when you think, when they're kind of changing some of the stuff that happens in the movie. And especially when, the slasher guy, I forget what his name was. It was like Billy or Bobby, something like that. It doesn't really matter. It's like every other slasher.
It's like Jason.
Yeah, it's essentially Jason. That's just it. So, but he starts to realize that they're there, because at first he doesn't. But then the one guy who knows all about slasher movies, like, hedges his bets too much. It's like, see guys, he can't hurt us. He can't hurt. I'm like, he's clearly gonna end up hurting you. So it turns out that they could definitely die in this, because there are a few of them that have some problems with that. I'll just put that out there. And so at first they try to make sure they know who the final girl is, the girl that in the actual movie makes it out. And it's this like kind of tough chick who hasn't had sex with anybody, who comes in,
drives a Firebird.
Yeah, it comes in like the first act.
Wears a motorcycle jacket.
Yeah, wears a motorcycle jacket. And so they're like, okay, we just got to make sure that
stick with her.
Well, that doesn't work. So essentially, they have to figure out how to survive this horror movie after the actual setup of all the stuff has kind of gone awry, and people are dying out of order, and it's become a huge mess. A lot of the fun of this movie is actually, I really like the characters from the real world. The characters that come into this movie within a movie. They're all done really well. A lot of the female characters in this, I'm going to start naming off people. So, Taissa Farmiga, I'm so sorry, I know I pronounced that terribly, but she's the main character. She actually looks like a teenager, whereas the rest of them are vaguely older. Like, they're CW. The rest of them look like CW teenagers, to the point that the mean girl in their group, I am not joking, the mean girl in their group was actually on the CW. She was in the Vampire Diaries. She was the main character. So when I say CW, yeah, it basically is.
Also, maybe Funke.
Yeah, maybe Funke, aka Aaliyah Shawkat, is the best friend in this, and she is once again just great, because I love her and like everything she does. But yeah, and Nina Dobrev is the one that was on the Vampire Diaries, and she plays the mean girl. And I really liked how she played everything, because she ends up having a lot more depth than you expect her to. And Aaliyah Shawkat and Taissa, yeah, I think it's Taissa Farmiga. I know, like I said, I know I pronounced that. Those three really were super strong, and they allowed them to actually have some good character moments, and I really liked that.
Despite being in a horror movie.
There's also really like the hard hitter in this movie is Malin Ackerman, who I think most people know her. She was the second Silk Spectre in Watchmen, but she's been on like several TV shows, and she's been in a bunch of like romantic comedies and stuff. But she does such a good. First of all, she is set up. You first see her as the actual mom. You see her before she dies, and her character is just kind of immediately. You understand why, like you understand the relationship that she has with her daughter, and she's very instantly likable. So when you see the car accident happen, and this happens in the first like 10 minutes of the movie, like it does hit you hard, because you get, you know what I mean? There's a good setup of that character, and then the rest of the movie, she's playing the character that the mother had been playing. So it is a very different role. It's basically two different roles. But again, both times she plays it really well, and the relationship between the mother's character and the daughter is done so excellently. There's a lot of exploring how badly how women don't get really good roles in these kind of genre films. There's a lot of that, and how it's so easy. It would be so easy for those characters to really shine if you give them moments of them being able to do great things. That's kind of one of the messages of this movie, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because there's this whole bit where they talk about how she says, well, I'm just this shy girl who has the clipboard and plays the guitar. And that's her, and the whole idea that, if you let female characters do more than just be, 2 or 3 traits, they can be something amazing, yeah. There's also a lot of, in the same way I think that Cabin in the Woods talked about sexuality and nudity in horror movies, and how that plays into the punishing of especially young people, but people who, and specifically women who do that stuff. I thought that it was interesting that they actually avoided showing any nudity in this. And it was funny because right after we saw the movie, I looked on IMDb just because I was looking for cast members and stuff, and I saw a review on there that said it was a good movie, but why no boobs and blood? And I was like, well, one, there was some blood, but it wasn't really that necessary. Do you really need to see all that? And two, if they'd shown the breasts, when there's this whole bit where they're going to use the one character who dies literally because she's about to flash, the group. That's what happens in the original movie. So they use that moment to then, basically to set up all these traps for the bad guy. Again, it's using those tropes, those horror tropes, both in the movie to trap the character and use them for their own gain, but in the actual meta sense of the whole of the movie we were watching, it was using it to subvert those tropes. So it would be missing the point to show the nudity. And it would be going from pointing out the exploitive nature of horror movies to just being exploitive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to say that. You're in the car with me.
Well, why not?
Yeah. But no, a lot of that's kind of the thing, is that if a movie that points out the exploitative ways that horror movies use female sexuality and female bodies, if it just does the same thing, then you're not really, you don't really have a reason to point that out. You're just using those same things, you know? Yes. That's how I felt like that was a really good move for the movie. It made me feel like they weren't trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yes, and from another point on that, because this is sort of often it's a similar direction but different direction, contrasting this movie with Cooties that you probably just saw yesterday. If you saw our review, which you should totally go see our review. The contrast that with that movie is much more bloody and gory, and it's also much more trying to be comedic, and its jokes fall flatter. While this seems more, its satire is more solid and on point, and also there's not so many fall flat moments in this movie.
There really isn't.
It has some comedy in it, but it's more playing on the tropes that build that comedy. Yeah, and as far as the gore, there's not too much gore, but there are some pretty cringeworthy moments. It's just that they don't focus on them as much. But there are a few pretty they don't necessarily cut away from when someone gets murdered. You know what I mean? Yeah, but we're definitely a very far away from an 8-year-old playing jump rope with a pair of intestines. Yeah, because that happened in Cooties. That was different.
And I do think that it helps that, like, yeah, there are some characters that are over the top, but they're the ones that are in the movie within the movie. And so a lot of the humor comes from the characters from the real world interacting with those characters. Also, I want to give a shout out to a character that could have been, and an actor whose character could have been really, really boring, and ended up working a lot better than he had any right to be. It was Alexander Ludwig's character, who was the love interest for the main girl. And first of all, I was thinking about this the other day because I've been reading the original run of the New Mutants from Marvel Comics, and there's a character in there named Sam who's Cannonball, who is, and when I was reading it, I was thinking of this actor because I've seen him in other stuff, and thinking that, man, that he would be perfect in a cast as this character if they ever do a New Mutants TV show or movie or whatever. And then I saw this movie, and I was thinking I think this is solidly who I would cast as, because he's a little dorky but mostly charming, and this particular character he's playing is very good natured, and it just made very much sense to me. But with this one too, there were little moments. I mean, one, he's very sweet, and he's very he seems like just a genuinely nice sort of person. But there's a part where he's trying to convince the character in the slasher movie, who's supposed to be the real horn dog, who gets killed off really early, but also ends up helping, being one of the, because he's with the mom's character, ends up helping, accidentally killing her off. But he's trying to convince, hey, maybe you shouldn't have sex this weekend. He's like, oh man, no, I'm going to totally have sex. And using a not very nice word, suggests that the main character's love interest is gay. And he's like, hey, and he says, the nicer guy goes yeah, my dad's gay, so that's not cool for you to say. And he goes, no, because gay people can't have kids, they're too busy in the discos and stuff. But it was kind of a nice moment where they just subtly dropped that this particular character has a gay parent, and that again, modern teenage boys, while there are still plenty that don't act like this, there are also plenty that are not creepy horn dogs from a slasher movie sort of guys either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they also sort of cover their face up with that line after that, where he goes, which is a really, fun lifestyle.
Oh yeah, no, well yeah, I think the whole point was that this particular character is secretly gay. Yeah. Is secretly gay. But I feel like they don't play that again in the entire movie. I feel like that was because they were, when you see at the end credits, they do a bunch of bloopers for it. I have a feeling that was because that guy is he was from what is that movie? Adam Devine. Remember, you've seen him in Workaholics. Yeah. But he's the kind of guy that I think does a lot of improv lines and stuff, and that really read like an improv, because he did a lot of improv lines in the bloopers too. Yeah, he was improving a lot in the bloopers, so I guess that maybe was an improv that did make the cut. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. By the way, he did a good job. I mean, he did a good job playing to suit, because his character was obnoxious and was every single version of the horn dog. Yeah, AZ's horn dog, who is clearly going to die early. Let's see. I'm trying to think there was anything else that really stood out. Again, I really liked all the female characters. I thought that those they had some really good moments, and yeah.
The female characters really got a lot of emotional and character building moments, much more than any other characters.
Yeah, and they had a particular scene where the kind of mean girl who was jealous of her for hanging out with her ex-boyfriend and stuff, and they used to be friends and stuff. She kind of has a reconnecting with them right before the big showdown, where they all kind of air out their, what went down between them. And yeah, it just feels like they allowed the female characters to actually have a little more humanity and agency. And when some bad stuff goes down, they have some really great, like, heroic moments, which I really liked. Besides that, I'm trying to think if there's anything before we get into spoilers. I just thought it was really fun. I thought that I was really mad because don't watch the trailer for this movie if you haven't already, because we watched the trailer for it and we were like, oh, this looks fun, and then it totally spoils a fairly big twist in the middle. And it totally bummed me out. I was like, that is so lame that they felt like they needed to include that in the trailer. In the trailer, they could have totally avoided that. So don't look at the trailer for it. But I know it's on Amazon Prime, and I know that it's I think it's streaming. It's probably streaming on iTunes and stuff too. So. Yeah, I would definitely check it out. You got anything else to say before spoilers?
No, I'm pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good movie. Better than Cooties. More solid, well written, better. It's a tighter movie.
It is a tighter movie. And it does a lot.
More effort and work was put into the script of this movie than.
Yeah, and I also really liked, they do a lot, again, we mentioned the whole film, like the whole using the film thing, where they, every 92 minutes, before they decide to kind of hop on, it felt very much like a video game where, like, it won't let you leave until you accept the next part of the...
Yeah, they played on that a couple times too, but I kind of wish, like, if I were going that route, I would make it so that you could reset the movie, maybe even. Yeah,
that would have been interesting. I wondered if they were going to go there, but there is a part where they just try to run. They try to run like sideways through the camp because they're just freaked out, and they just keep running in the same.
It keeps resetting.
Yeah, it keeps resetting. So, but then there's also stuff like they do an interesting thing with the flashbacks where they can actually see like the flashback like fade out, start to like trickle down the ceiling.
That two-dimensional ripple that normally goes over a flashback, they try to do that in 3 dimensions, and it confuses the characters that are in.
And it kind of freaks them out too. Yeah. But then they end up seeing the flashback then too.
I don't know if it was the most like I knew what it was, but I mean, like, it wasn't a very. I don't know if I liked the effect they chose.
But I like that they went there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to try and show that in 3 dimensions.
Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, it was good. Definitely check it out. And now we're gonna go into spoilers. So spoilers, yeah. So at first, the brother of the best friend, who's also like the big horror movie buff, dies, and then a bunch of the movie within the movie characters die. But then, yeah, and basically nearly everybody gets knocked off, including like the characters that came in. So both the best friend and the ex-best friend both die. And we were talking about this before the spoilers, that like they have a moment where they basically get to decide to pull the trigger that kills them in a bid to try to stop the bad guy, to stop the slasher guy. So I really thought that was a great moment of them like having agency in their own deaths, which you don't get to see a lot in slasher movies with female characters. Usually they're just flat out murdered, and I like the fact that they had that moment, And again, this was after they had like a really good talk about their friendships and stuff.
I know, but I do understand, because they had that heart-to-heart in the scene previously, that like in the neck, during the big confrontation that ultimately fails. that they have the, a trying to, stop the bad guy thing. But they've already established earlier in the movie that, the trope of this movie is that, A, it's the final girl that survives, and B, it's the, nothing can kill him but his own machete from a virgin or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
So they sort of establish that, but then they still try at sacrificing themselves.
Well, and also
because they said everything else only slows him down.
Well, and also they don't know for sure that only the final girl will stop them. There's always the chance that the one virgin in the group could, stop them. But maybe she could do it before everybody dies. Maybe. You don't know. Maybe that will change.
They still die to try and slow him down. Basically.
Yeah. So, so a few other things happen as they get to the point where they do get the machete through a few different ways. The love interest gets hurt, but not completely dead. But the mom's character gets taken, and by this time they've had a lot of she and the main character have had a lot of really good moments. They've developed a real friendship. And it should be noted, too, that all of the characters in the movie know that they're in a movie at this point because they flat out just tell them. So there is, a lot of it is them just coming to terms with the fact that they're movie characters. But they also have, the main character has this idea of, well, maybe you could come back. If we all survive, if I'm able to stop, then maybe we will all survive, and then you can come back with us, and then do whatever you want to do. And, in her brain, she's thinking, I could have some semblance of my mom back. Even though that's probably not the most super healthiest way to look at it, since that's not her mom. You know what I mean? It looks like her mom. There might be some sparks of her mom there, but it's not her mom. But she goes yeah, I could, go to college and go to the mall. And it's well, we don't really go to the mall anymore. We just shop online. To which
online?
Yeah, what does online mean? It's nothing. I'm sure I'm gonna like it though. Yeah, we'll do that. We can totally, and I could get a job. And so anyway, so the mom's character gets taken, and the main character follows and saves her, but in the process gets really hurt. And so the mom's character, she says well, one of us has to be the final girl, and I don't think it can be me. And she's well, of course it's you. And goes, no, I've always been the quiet girl with the clipboard and the guitar, which again is a running theme. But I can do this though. I can sacrifice myself so that you're the last one, and then you have the power to stop him. So again, in a very much subverting of the trope, she goes out, and while Betty Davis Eyes, which was a song that we saw in the very first scene of the movie, the main character and her mom loved singing together. So that song starts playing, and she starts dancing and kind of slowly taking off her clothes, even though she gets her bra. And again, it's playing off of tropes of girls not really having agency in their sexuality and of it being very exploitive, but she's using it in a way to be brave and to sacrifice herself so that this girl that has become her friend can live. And again, this would have been really, really done poorly if there was nudity, which is why I want to shake that person who made that random review, because it's such a stupid response. But yeah, they're using these tropes that have been used to kind of objectify female characters, and using it in a way that is about about her doing something brave. And she ends up dying, and the main character is given like superhuman strength and agility suddenly, because she is now the final girl, and she ends up beating him. And then again, using the movie's like magical skills and stuff, you see the credits roll on the sky. And after the credits end, she and her love interest, they kiss really quick, but then everything kind of flashes, and the next thing she knows, what happens, Mike?
They're in a hospital bed.
They're in different hospital beds, but yeah, they're in the hospital. But amazingly, she hears some voices across the screen, and she opens up the screen, and it's her friends who died. So it's her best friend and her stepbrother, the friend's stepbrother, and her ex, but now not ex, friend. And she's like, I can't believe it! I can't believe you guys are alive! Did this all happen? And the one guy is like, oh yeah, and he pulls up his shirt, and like you see the giant mark where the machete had hit him. It was like, oh yeah, this was like, in fact, I'm a little worried about tetanus, because they did not give me a tetanus shot, and I saw that machete. That machete was rusty. So they're like, man, well then I guess we're okay. We're all okay. But then they hear the noise that is clearly supposed to be like the, is it the Friday the 13th? The hey, 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 ha, ha, ha. Is that Friday the 13th? It's very similar in this movie, where you can hear, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but it's basically the hee 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 ha ha ha. Yeah, exactly. So they hear it and they're like, wait, what? No. So, but they go out and they see this like nurse and doctor flirting with each other, and the doctor's clearly propositioning her. And then they realize it. They're not in the real world at all. They're in the sequel. And you see the bad guy, the like slasher guy, crash through the doors. And so right as the main character grabs like a random, like, what was it?
I think she grabbed
like an IV holder.
Like the IV holder, but it had like a tip on the top of it.
Yeah, something like that. And he's like, meanwhile, the one horror movie like buff is like, oh man, the sequel's always better than the original, and then it cuts to black. So here's the thing. I will say this. I kind of like the Cooties ending. This one, it was okay, but at the same time, there was so much emotional stuff going on with the mother and daughter stuff that I felt like ending it on a second play of the parody kind of wasn't my favorite part of it.
I think it would have been stronger if you woke up and it wasn't the sequel, it was just them recovering from the fire.
Yeah.
In the theater. I think that's a stronger ending because it plays more into the emotion of what they experienced in what would then be her coma dream.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm glad that they didn't say like, oh yeah, it was all a dream. Like, it was clear that everybody else, had gone through that. But yeah, my main thing was just that like man, that would be exhausting to me. If I thought that I was finally out of this movie nightmare, and then suddenly I was like thrown back into it, that would suck.
Although you do sort of see the sequel thing coming, because the marathon that they were showing was 1 and 2 of that movie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, on the marquee it said 1 and 2, and on the flyers it said 1 and 2.
See, I didn't even notice that. That was a good eye.
Yeah, they set that up early on, that there was a 1 and 2.
Got it.
But I don't know if I like it as much going right into the sequel.
Yeah, and it's also like, okay, can they expect to live through this one? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know if the stakes are high enough now.
It does ruin the stakes, because everyone woke up and is alive, and so does that mean as long as the movie gets finished, everyone's alive at the when they wake up in the whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, how do they really get out? You know, it brings up more questions because it doesn't really finish the movie. It doesn't really finish the story. It just sort of ends a chapter, sort of like.
Yeah. So, again, I still really liked it. I thought it was. There were a lot of actual laughs that I did not get from Cooties yesterday. This one had a lot more funny moments. Had a lot more just like getting the genre really well. And yeah, I thought that there was a good amount of violence. Like if you like seeing some of that stuff, it's not like you're gonna be necessarily without it. And like I said, I actually really appreciate the fact that they did not actually do the nudity because it wasn't needed. It was like you got the gist of it, you know. And really, the biggest plus of this movie was how they did the female characters, because, granted, like a couple of them were still very two-dimensional when it came with movie within the movie characters, but you have the three real-world characters who each got nice moments, got a good amount of depth, actually got some like relationship building and interaction that you probably weren't expecting from it. All the actors were really good, and like I said, and my main thing was just the mother-daughter stuff was really interesting. How she deals with how she basically really gets to mourn and deal with her mother's death through interacting with her mother's character was done really well. So, yeah, any closing thoughts?
The mother-daughter relationship stuff in this movie was really probably some of the stronger points. Also, the girl friendships that they were sort of weak early on, but I guess they got better throughout the movie. Which
is okay. I'd rather them start off as, like, not super strong and then, you know, build to something.
Because it was sort of... The one girl was really sort of really flat and one-dimensional early.
The so-called mean girl?
Yeah. And then they fleshed that out as the movie went on. I don't know if I liked as much of it early, but it got better later.
Which I think was maybe what they were going for.
Yeah. I don't know. That's about all I got.
Yeah, I would say definitely check it out, especially if you're a fan of slasher movies. You should get a kick out of it. Yeah, I think that's it for our horror movie little mini run. So happy Halloween, everyone, and I hope that you stay safe. And and maybe like don't go out partying, just watch a bunch of fun spooky movies. Right?
Sounds fun.
Sounds fun. So, Katie and Mike, justplainsomething.com, and we'll see you later. And her friend's there, and so is the ex-girlfriend of the boy she likes, who also happens to be an ex-friend of hers. And so they're all watching this movie, and an accident happens, and there's this big fire, and so she does the only thing that she can think of when all the exits are blocked, and she like slashes open the movie screen, and those like the guy that convinced her to come goes in, the boy she likes, her friend, and then her ex-friend all go in, and she follows after them. And the next thing they know is they're in this like foresty area, and suddenly this van goes by, and it happens to be the characters about to go to the summer camp and have their big adventure. And so the first thing they do is kind of panic, because they're like, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. and the interesting thing is, they do try to play up a lot of the potential, movie aspects of this. So when they don't do anything, 92 minutes later, the same van goes around again because they don't know what they
kept walking.
Sorry, yeah, they kept walking and it doesn't do anything. And exactly 92 minutes later, the van comes back. And so then the second time they're just sitting there, but one of the guys has timed it just to make sure, and he's figured out, oh wait, it's been 92 minutes and it's just going to keep repeating until we go into the van. By the way, Mike is getting gas, so should I just chat for a little bit with the camera?
If you want to, or you could pause and take a break. I don't care.
Alright, I'll pause. And we're back. Hey, everybody. So where were we at? So they...
well, we got $20 in gas. Enough to get us there and back again.
Hooray!
See,
not what I meant, though. So,
there and back again, it's a movie.
Yeah. Well, that's not a movie.
Well, it's actually a book, but there and back again. A Hobbit's Tale.
Anyway, so they eventually realize we're gonna have to play along because nothing else is working. So they get in, and there's that awkward moment where the main character's mom's basically her character wakes up in the back of the van, is like, oh hi, I didn't know we were picking up people, and all of the people who know, all of the people from the real world who are in there are just looking at the main character going oh god, this is awkward.
That's your dead mother.
That's your dead mother, and you're seeing her on the anniversary of her death, no less. I don't know if we mentioned it before, but yeah, that night was the anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of her death. So,
actually, it was the 3 year anniversary.
Was it 3 years?
They said 3 years later.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was only one, but I must have missed that. So they go in and they realize they're gonna have to try to make it to the end of the movie. Which is harder when you think when they're kind of changing some of the stuff that happens in the movie, and especially when the slasher guy, I forget what his name was. It was Billy or Bobby, something like that. It doesn't really matter. It's like every other slasher.
It's like Jason.
Yeah, it's essentially Jason. That's just it. So but he starts to realize that they're there, because at first he doesn't, but then the one guy who knows all about slasher movies hedges his bets too much. It's see guys, he can't hurt us. I'm he's clearly gonna end up hurting you. So it turns out that they could definitely die in this, because there are a few of them that have some problems with that. I'll just put that out there. And so at first they try to make sure they know who the final girl is, the girl that in the actual movie makes it out. And it's this kind of tough chick who hasn't had sex with anybody, who comes in,
drives a Firebird.
Yeah, it comes in the first act.
Wears a motorcycle jacket.
Yeah, wears a motorcycle jacket. And so they're okay, we just got to make sure that...
Stick with her.
Well, that doesn't work. So essentially they have to figure out how to survive this horror movie after the actual setup of all the stuff has kind of gone awry, and people are dying out of order, and it's become a huge mess. A lot of the fun of this movie is actually I really like the characters from the real world. The characters that come into this movie within a movie. They're all done really well. A lot of the female characters in this, I'm going to start naming off people. So Taissa Farmiga, I'm so sorry, I know I pronounced that terribly, but she's the main character. She actually looks like a teenager, whereas the rest of them are vaguely older. They're CW. The rest of them look like CW teenagers, to the point that the mean girl in their group, I am not joking, the mean girl in their group was actually on the CW. She was in the Vampire Diaries. She was the main character. So when I say CW, yeah, it basically is.
Also, maybe feel gay.
Yeah, maybe Fumke, aka Aaliyah Shawkat, is the best friend in this, and she is once again just great because I love her and like everything she does. But yeah, and Nina Dobrev is the one that was on the Vampire Diaries, and she plays the mean girl. And I really liked how she played everything, because she ends up having a lot more depth than you expect her to. And Aaliyah Shawkat and Taza, I think it's Taza Farminga. I know, like I said, I pronounce it. Those three really were super strong, and they allowed them to actually have some good character moments, and I really liked that.
Despite being in a horror movie.
There's also really like the hard hitter in this movie is Malin Ackerman, who I think most people know her. She was the second Silk Spectre in Watchmen, but she's been on like several TV shows, and she's been in a bunch of like romantic comedies and stuff. But she does such a good. First of all, she is set up. You first see her as the actual mom. You see her before she dies, and her character is just kind of immediately. You understand why, like you understand the relationship that she has with her daughter, and she's very instantly likable. So when you see the car accident happen, and this happens in the first like 10 minutes of the movie, you know, like it does hit you hard because you get, you know what I mean? There's a good setup of that character, and then the rest of the movie, she's playing the character that the mother had been playing. So it is a very different role. It's basically two different roles. But again, both times she plays it really well, and the relationship between the mother's character and the daughter is done so excellently. There's a lot of exploring how badly how women don't get really good roles in these kind of genre films. There's a lot of that, and how like it's so easy. It would be so easy for those characters to really shine if you give them moments of them being able to do great things. That's kind of one of the messages of this movie, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because there's this whole bit where they talk about how she says like, "Well, I'm just this shy girl who has a clipboard." Hey everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hey everybody.
We are actually not driving home from the movie this time. We're actually driving to Chicago because Mike is driving me back to my apartment. But before we left our place in Indianapolis, we actually watched one last movie for our little driving home the movie Halloween run. We watched The Final Girls, which was a movie that came out, I believe, this year. It might have done the festival circuit earlier than that, but I think it basically came out this year.
Yeah, I do think it did come out this year.
So essentially, similarly to Cooties from yesterday, or one we watched yesterday. I'm not sure when this is going up.
I'm probably just going to edit them and clip them all on Tuesday and then put them up staggered over the next couple days.
Yeah, give you guys some nice time to enjoy them. Similar to Cooties, though, this is a movie that kind of plays off of some very traditional horror movie tropes. But instead of zombies, these are slasher movies. And I feel like the subverting trope that they're using here is one that we've seen other movies do, but I can't think of it. But the idea of like someone being put into the movie, so very like Pleasantville-like.
Yes, it's very Pleasantville.
So essentially, this girl whose mother was in a slasher movie and died in a car crash the year before, she is kind of roped into going to this screening of her mom's slasher movie, and she's there with this boy that she likes, and